All right, this is going to be another quick tidbit. This is going to be called the fake Asian beef. So this is another, oh, hell no. So I'm quite sure last week you all heard the propaganda slash media coverage of supposedly and allegedly violence from quote, quote, African Americans towards Asians. And then right after that, it was a Caucasian man in Atlanta that went on a killing spree in the in different Asian massage shops. So the narrative that they put out was that this Caucasian gentleman had some type of porn addiction and was targeting these massage shops that he was frequently going to. So they came out and slanted it that he wasn't being racist. It was him targeting those shops because of his addiction. Now, here's my whole thing. Why supposedly and allegedly African Americans have a beef with Asians and there is a rise in violence? Really? Really now? Since when? Since when did African Americans start having a beef with Asians when, if it wasn't for those African Americans, a lot of those Asians, Asians, business owners wouldn't be in business. And hence, they would not be in America. All right? So Asians, for the most part, if they own a business, they make their money off of the quote, quote, same African Americans that are supposedly violent against them. So let's run it down of the industries. You have the nail salons. You have, let's say beauty in general, but I'll be specific. You have the nail salons. You have the hair care industry. Let's not forget some of the corner stores that are set up in predominantly African American neighborhoods. All right. Do you all realize that African American women, and I'm using that in quotes because it's really melanated women, not African American, melanated women spend billions of dollars in the beauty industry. And those dollars are going directly to Asians. Okay? It's to the point now where the beauty supplies or the black beauty supplies. So meaning, okay, Caucasian, this is a lesson for you to learn in case you did not know this. In the melanated communities, there is something called the beauty supply store. In that store are products geared towards melanated people's hair because we have a unique hair texture where it is tightly coiled, loosely coiled, semi in the middle. So there's special products geared towards melanated women in our hair. Well, guess who owns that industry? You guessed it, Asians. So that's on down to the wigs, to the weaves, to the actual chemical products, the beauticians that use the chemical products, hair clips, gloves, you name it. It's in this beauty supply place. And that's including, they started getting hip once melanated women in large forms, we started wearing our hair natural. So now they're starting to put some of those natural products in the beauty supply store, which I haven't been in a beauty supply store. Oh my God, it's been, I take that back. It's probably been about 4 or 5 years. And that's only because I was in New York on vacation and the people we were visiting with, they stopped in the store. That's the only reason I was in that mug. But I haven't been in a beauty supply store in years because my hair is natural. So I can use natural things and really don't have to be bothered. But the point of this is melanated women spend billions in the beauty section, and Asians get a large percent of those dollars. So I'm just going to read a quick article. Why do Koreans own the black beauty supply business? And this article came out in 2010 in Matanor. All right. So it says, it's odd, but not so odd at the same time. By now, many people expect to walk into a beauty supply store and see a Korean store owner manning the register. Whether you're in the suburbs of Houston or the MLK Boulevard in any town, USA, you know what to expect. And yet, walking down the street in a black neighborhood with black residents and black customers buzzing about the retail shops, that image of a few Koreans in the neighborhood only exists behind the cash register of liquor. I forgot about the liquor stores, y'all, or the liquor store. My fault. I forgot about the liquor store. Beauty supply and other retail shops is still perplexing. But what can explain the seemingly random attraction of black hair to Korean entrepreneurs? Is it that they love black hair so much? Was there a plan amongst the first wave of Korean immigrants to hone in on black hair care industry and dominate the beauty supply store market? From a business perspective, it was no coincidence. The wig business and the explosion of the wig business in South Korea in the 1960s is instrumental to understanding the Korean ownership of beauty supply stores. According to the book On My Own, Korean Businesses and Race Relations in America, the rise of YH Trade Wig Manufacturing Company was significant. Founder Young Ho Chang conceived the idea of the company while working as a vice director of Korean Trade Promotion Corporation in the U.S. between 1965 and 1978. His company exported $100 million worth of wigs. $100 million worth of wigs. The wig business was doing so well, especially among African American consumers, that the Korean wig merchants pushed to corner the market. In 1965, the Korean wig merchants joined together and convinced the Korean government to outlaw the export of raw hair, said Aaron Rainin, a filmmaker who has documented the marginalization of African American entrepreneurs in the hair care industry in the film Black Hair. And if you haven't seen that documentary called Black Hair, I would highly, highly encourage you to watch it. It should be an eye-opener, okay? And I know for a fact that someone researched, one of my family members researched going into the beauty supply store because that's what they wanted to do, and they wanted to do it on a wholesale level. And so they would go to these different trade shows and with the wholesaler trade shows, and they started talking to different people. And specifically, no matter whether the people were Caucasian, and specifically the melanated people, pretty much told them that the Koreans had the market on lock. And what they do, they only do business with each other. So in essence, it was locking out melanated folks from doing business in that industry, as well as Caucasian folks, when it is concerning black hair. All right, so this ban made it so that one can only buy the pre-made wigs and extensions. In other words, Korean hair could only be manufactured in Korea. 6 months later, the United States government created a ban on any wig that contains hair from China, effectively putting South Korea in prime position to exploit the market. So let me get this straight. The United States government gave South Korea the keys to the kingdom of wigs. Now, that's not saying that all melanated people or melanated women wear wigs. We know that it's not true. All right. But those that say it is a conspiracy with foreigners coming over to the Americas, getting a leg up in business, things that make you go, Now remember, just last week, they were claiming that there's a rise in violence against Asians and African Americans. So meaning African Americans are targeting Asians. And I want to know how and why, if it wasn't for African Americans, majority of the business owners, the Asian business owners, they would not exist. The business structure helped set up many Korean entrepreneurs in the sale of wigs, and all over the past 5 decades, wig stores have evolved to become full-fledged beauty supply stores where hair for weaves and extensions represent the top-selling products. Boom! Since then, it's been a chain reaction as one store begat another. Family members and employee of one store owner duplicated the business. According to said Dr. Park, and I think it's Kyo Young Park, associate professor of anthropology and Asian American studies at UCLA, competition also played a role in the proliferation. Korean immigrants are more concerned with peer competition, she said. If one is running a business so well, then another Korean will open up a similar business very quickly. So I'm going to just stop right there and I want everyone to think about how deep this game is. They have the market so on lock that they're not even concerned about Caucasian competition. They're not even concerned about melanated folks, aka African American competition, who are the majority of their customers. They're not concerned about either. They're concerned about their peers as competition. Today, there are over 9,000 Korean-owned beauty supply stores serving a billion-dollar market for black hair. So I'm going to ask again, where is the supposed beef of African Americans against Asians? Because if it wasn't for African Americans, Asian businesses would not exist. Between manufacturing, distributing, and selling these hair care products, Korean entrepreneurs appear to control all major components. So let me just go back over that. What do they control? In the beauty supply store, $1 billion business, all of it, manufacturing, distributing, and the selling of the product. Rainin was inspired to make his documentary because of what he saw as the injustice of unfair business practices. It's really about allowing Black manufacturers to get inside the distribution channel, he said. I mean, if you ask me, what is your vision for the future? Well, right away, it's 100% Black-owned stores opening up right next to the Korean stores. A boycott until the Korean stores accept at least 20% Black-owned manufactured products. Then we are talking about money in the community. Okay? So I'm going to ask again. Where is the supposedly and allegedly targeted violence with African Americans against Asians when we are their bread and butter for these individual entrepreneurial businesses? Without no us, there is no them. And I'm just only on one industry. I haven't even gotten to the nail industry. I haven't even gotten to the liquor store, the corner store. According to Rainin, I guess that's what they meant, there are only 4 central distributors serving beauty supply stores in the country, and these Koreans-owned distributors discriminate against Black store owners in order to maintain their monopoly in the market. Boom! That's exactly what my people told me their research came up with. Rainin interviewed Lucky White, the owner of Kazir Iron Works, which specialized in making styling tools like curling irons, for his 2006 documentary. Miss White claimed that distributors told her that her products were no longer in demand as an excuse to turn away her products in favor of knockoff produced by Asian companies. Devin Robinson, an economics professor and author of How to Become a Successful Beauty Supply Store Owner, organized a boycott last November against non-Black owned beauty supply stores. The problem is with distributors, he has stated. Distributors are mainly non-Black and they handpick who they will distribute products to. This oftentimes leaves aspiring Black owners disenfranchised. Absolutely. Like I said, my people did the research and figured out it just wasn't even worth pursuing that because they couldn't get the connect on the products. But Robert Cleary, a former director of the Dashing Diva Nail Salon Franchising Corporation, said that although he did witness discrimination in the Korean-dominated nail salon business, he doesn't believe that the discrimination on a business level is exclusively race-based. The Central Korean distributors actively work to create barriers of entry to any group, even other Koreans, to protect the status quo, he said. And I am in agreement with that as well. Okay, because I don't see Caucasians in that industry either. All right. So this foolishness that is going on, it is directly, I lay it on the doorstep of 2 groups. Number one, the United States government needs to be smacked in the mouth. Okay? Because they set up an environment for foreigners to be able to come over here and corner the market. Do you all realize, now me being nosy like I am, y'all, because I'm nosy like that. When I get my nails done, for the most part, just doing myself, file them up, whatever. But when I was getting them and I became cool with my nail technician, baby, I had to get all up in the business. So I asked my former nail tech, how does this game work? I wanted to know, how much profit does a nail place like this generate a year? He said about $2 million. I said, okay, and you don't have to tell me this if you don't want to, because he didn't own the shop. He was like an employee of the shop. So I asked him, how much do you make a year? Average $75K a year, baby. And that was not being independent. Did you hear me? $75K. And that's not even being independent. So what had happened was, the reason I was able to get all that tea, y'all, because see, men, when we go to the hair shop and the nail shop, baby, we always get the tea. We always get the gossip. So why I was getting all that tea? Because the shop that he was at, he was getting ready to leave and break out on his own. So, of course, he was going to pull his regulars to the side and be like, psst, on the low. I'm getting ready to leave. Give me your number, woo, woo, woo. I give you my new spot. So that's really how I was able to get all that info. But, that's what he said, $75K. And the shop that he was at, the owner, she was about to sell it and open up another shop. Matter of fact, scratch that. She had opened up another shop. And the shop that we were at, it was in a middle-class mixed area. So you had Caucasians and melanated people. We were both going there getting our nails done. Right in on the little edge of a mall. Women, y'all know how that go. We know, unless you go on to somebody that you know personally, all of the nail places are in a strip mall, all right? So she was selling that one, and she had already opened up a new one in like the upper scale area. So Caucasian for the most part over there, are over there. And I wasn't going all the way up there. No way, because it's crowded up there. And I'm just not interested because of the traffic. But anyhow, so I said, oh, really now? How much is she selling it for? $1.2 million. That's what she was selling that shop for. My mouth dropped. So I get deeper into the business. I said, so does she have any buyers? He said, oh, yeah, she definitely has a buyer. And they're looking over the books, blah, 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 blah. So I'm telling y'all all of this to say, do you understand the industry that has been lost to not even just melanated folk, but Caucasian people too? So I know when I go get my nails did, and especially now it's my feet, sis. I really don't get the nails done like I do the feet. Gots to keep your feet on cue. So I know when I go get my tootsies done, I don't see nobody, no nail tech, but Asians. I don't see it. So that's not Caucasians. That's not melanated. That's not Hispanic. None of that. All I see are Asians. So if the average nail tech, I'm going to drop it down to 60,000 because my guy, he had a nice little clientele. So let's drop it down to 60,000. You don't think that melanated people will want that nice little career? You don't think Peaches them and Amy them wouldn't want that nice career? So, the Koreans use the nail and hair industry, I'm back to the article, y'all, to get a foothold in this country. They were doing something, as many immigrants do, that the people who live here didn't want to do or didn't have an interest in. They found a need, they found a niche, and they made it their own. The concentration in these businesses promoted a shroud of secrecy and protectiveness that became hard to penetrate. Now, I disagree with the author because I'm going to give you the nail industry. I give you that. I will straight give you that about people not really want to be working on people's toes like that. And hands, because for the most part, back in the day, women did their own nails and toes, especially melanated folks. But hair, no, that you ain't finna, no, sir. You're not gonna convince me that that's not what melanated people didn't want to do. The first black millionaire woman, ringing the bell to y'all, had her little hair care products. Madam C.J. Walker, ring a bell to anyone? Didn't she set up her own distribution? She the one that created the model to have a chain of beauty products and to have a chain of salons. It was a black woman. So y'all can have several seats on this beauty hair thing. I'm going to give you the little nails stuff. Asians, okay, yep. They changed the game on the nails. But as far as black hair care, no, sir. No, sir. That was always a melanated thing. Because Caucasians did not even know how to mix up stuff for black hair products. It had to come from black people. All right? So this was systematic, giving the Koreans a foothold in this industry. So they could just go on up the street with that one. The business methodology is highly cultural, said Cleary, only to be understood by many other Koreans who accept and conform to the way of doing things. Other elements of the business are highly controversial and susceptible to scrutiny to those who are not comfortable with the way things work. The nail salons, they distribute products to employ many illegal aliens, and the distributors themselves often employ illegal workers as well, he said. This adds another layer of secrecy and motivation to keep things tightly controlled and quiet. The issue of taxes and cheap labor also enforce the secrecy. Many salons pay for their supplies with cash. Therefore, a large part of the business at all levels is cash and rarely reported, just enough to fly under the IRS radar, he says. Regardless, this shroud of protectiveness fueled part of tension between Korean business owners and the urban African-American community, which famously erupted during the 1992 Los Angeles riots. Korean entrepreneurs in the inner city usually maintain a separate existence. living outside the urban communities in which they serve. Despite the fact that Koreans may be competitive even amongst one another, like many other ethnic groups, they have fostered a collaboration entrepreneurial spirit through establishing banks and business associations. So you see what they're basically saying? That, yeah, they may be competitive against each other, meaning the Korean entrepreneurs, but they do business with each other. And how are they able to do business with each other? What put them in the position to be able to do business with each other? The black dollar. In the 80s, they organized rotating credit associations, said Dr. Park. The way they formulate capital isn't very different from other Americans. Interestingly enough, Park says, what appears to be a strong relationship between entrepreneurship and Korean immigrants is not strong historically. For a long time in South Korea, because of Confucianism, it looked down upon to be a merchant, she says. Oh, now see, I didn't know that. These days in South Korea, because of neoliberal restructuring and other things like lack of lifelong employment, Koreans are now thinking of opening up their own businesses. Until the 1980s and early 90s, opening up a small business was the last thing people wanted to do. Whoa, that's deep, y'all. That's deep. So that means they started really getting on a large scale, the Koreans, into opening up business since the 80s. So that ain't a long time, family, for them to be truly dominating this beauty industry. Although the U.S. government gave them a hell of a start in the 60s on the little wig situation. When Chris Rock's Good Hair came out last year, it shed a lot of light on the origins of the hair used for weaves and the relationship between black women and their hair. Absolutely. And that's another good one to check out, family. Chris Rock did an excellent job on Good Hair. And melanated women, I really encourage you to watch both of those documentaries and get your family members to watch the documentaries, specifically family members that use a lot of those products. Hopefully it'll spark something into them to start thinking differently on how they're spending their dollars and what that means when they go spend those dollars. But Rannon, who is a Jewish filmmaker, still believes that the powers that be in the African American business community need to take a stronger stand in highlighting this issue. They've watched my movie, but no one has done anything about it, he says, revisiting his dream of seeing 100 Black-owned beauty supply stores open and establish a funnel to Black-owned distributors and manufacturers. There are people on Wall Street who can fix this in a minute and create some kind of dynamic kind of stock offering, completely above the board, to open and fund the stores and give out shares. It is a vision that may not be wildly popular, but one that addresses the passivity that hovers over the challenge of African American empowerment by the way of business and investing. All right. So this article is by Madame Manor, and it's Why Do Koreans Own the Black Beauty Supply Business? And it came out in 2010, and I think they did an absolutely wonderful job in this article. So the point of all this, family, that I'm bringing up, and it's twofold. So hopefully we're getting the bang for our buck out of this all hell no session. Because the first one is, I'm still waiting on this supposed beef between blacks and Asians, that blacks are targeting violence against Asians, but yet blacks are Asians, those merchants who are in the beauty industry, we're their bread and butter. So media, I think you missed the mark on that one, and you can go and have several seats on it. But since you brought it up, melanated people, this should be a huge wake-up call for you, specifically women, because the men, that's y'all should be a wake-up call for y'all for going to the liquor store, for going to the local liquor store, paying probably almost double the price to get treated like crap. Melanated women, this should be a huge wake-up call for you. All right? You're making them millionaires. You're allowing them to cipher money out of the community and out of your pocket specifically without any type of respect for you or your culture. We can stop this shit right now. We can stop it right now. Now, yes, that is going to mean changing a lot of your habits. Yes, that's going to mean putting down the Remy hair and all of that other quote, quote, hair that you sew up upon in your head. It's going to mean doing a little bit more research if you still want to wear your weaves and wigs. No judgment on my part. Do your thing, boo. Do a little bit more research. Seek out melanated business owners. There are some sisters that are getting into that industry. They are in that industry. Yes, you're going to have to pay more. It's not them jacking up the price. It's because the market has such a lock on it that they have to pay a higher price for the merchandise. But if you all band together and support the black-owned melanated hair care businesses, then they can start gaining market share and get that industry back in melanated people's hands. You can directly control how you spend your dollars, especially when it's concerning something like beauty, hair, and nails. That's something that you can directly control. All right. So with that said, I wish everybody well on this happy Monday. I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention because that's definitely a oh hell no moment when the media is claiming one thing about a beef. And I don't see how it's a supposed beef when melanated people have created millionaires out of the Asian community. So take care, family. Peace and love.